All right, in chapter 21, we're going to start talking about flexible budgets. So in the previous chapter, in 20, we just talked about regular budgets. So we estimated that we were going to sell so many units and what the costs were going to be, came up with a budget. A flexible budget is, what if we don't, sell 100,000 units? What if we sell 150,000 units? What if we do less? And so a flexible budget just adjusts your budget based on, at least in this problem, it's going to be based on the number of units. It can also be flexible based on prices or other things, but it allows you to make adjustments to either play out scenarios, or during the year you can adjust it for actual. So for example, in a flexible budget, what you could do at the end of the year is you could go in and adjust the numbers in your budget for what you actually sold, and then that would tell you the difference. Might be because you paid a higher price for stuff. Could be maybe because your sales price was higher or lower. And so it's a flexible budget. It's just a really good tool to understand what's going on in your business a little bit more. So in this problem, 21-1, we have Phoenix Company, and so we have a master budget, and it calls it a fixed budget report. And so that's not like a fixed versus variable cost like we've been talking about. That's a fixed versus flexible budget. So this is their initial budget for the year. So it gives us the budget, it gives us their sales, it gives us their cost of goods sold, their selling expenses, their operating expenses, and their projected income for operations. And so we're going to prepare a flexible budget. And so the first thing it asks for us is to classify all the items in the fixed budget as either fixed or variable cost. So up here, let's start off with our number of units. So our projected units sold is 15,000. And then to start off with, let's just go ahead and enter our total cost. We'll do that here in column Q. So So 3 million of sales, 975 of direct labor, direct materials. Direct labor is 225. Machinery is 60. Utilities, and so utilities here says 195,000. However, 45,000 is variable, so we just want the variable portion. And then we have packing cost. And so packing cost is not a product cost that goes into cost of goods sold, but it is a variable cost. So that's going to be down here. And then shipping gives us total variable cost 1.485. And then the rest of our costs are going to be fixed. So we have 75,000 of depreciation. And then for utilities, that's going to be the total utilities of 195 minus the variable portion of 45,000. Then we have, we have management salaries of 200. It's going to be right here. $250,000 for the sales salary. We had advertising expense of 125, regular salaries of 241, and entertainment expense of 90,000. Okay, I typed something wrong because we should have a net income the same of 159. Oh, depreciation. So sorry, the depreciation should have been 300,000, and now we get to our 159. Okay. So the next, we want to figure out the total dollars per unit cost. And so we don't need to figure out the dollars per unit cost, the fixed cost, because it doesn't matter, because it's fixed. Whether we sell 1 or 1,000,000, it's the same cost. But variable cost is going to change for each one we sell. So our variable revenue for sales is going to be our 3 million divided by our 15,000. So we've got $200 per unit. And so for direct materials, we'll do the 975 divided by our units. Let's just go ahead and lock that down so we can drag it. And so now we have our dollar per unit cost for each one of our variable costs here. Alright, so on the next part, we want to prepare a flexible budget based on whether the company does 14,000 units or 16,000 units in sales. So our budget was 15. We're going to say, hey, what does that look like if we do 14 or 16? So up here, we'll just do we could put in the units. So this situation is going to be 14,000, and this column will be 16,000. And so over here, to figure out what these costs are going to be, we want to plug in our cost per unit over here. So we can just carry that down from part 1 . And we want to figure out our contribution margin. So that's going to be our sales minus our total variable cost. So we have a contribution margin of $101 per unit. So if we sell it each unit for $200, $99 is going to be cost, and we're going to have $101 per unit that is going to help pay for our fixed cost. So now to figure out the budget portion, we just take the units that we're going to sell and multiply that times the cost per unit. Oops. We're going to want to lock our row down. There we go. Oops, what did I do here? Oh. There we go. Get our absolute references correct. And so now by taking our dollar per unit cost, multiply it times our units, we can get the variable cost for each one of these two scenarios. And now we just have to plug in the fixed costs, and the fixed costs are easy because they don't change based on units. So we can just carry our fixed cost down, but they're not going to change whether we do 14,000 or 16,000. So in our original budget, we were guessing, hey, we're going to sell 15,000 units to give us $159,000 of profit. And so if we do less, if we do 14,000, we're going to end up with $58,000 of profit. And if we do 2,000 more, we'll end up with $260,000 of profit. So in part 3, it says the company's business conditions are improving, and they think that they can do 18,000 units. So they want to know, hey, how much profit will we actually make compared to this 159 if we actually can reach this level of 18,000 units? And so we can recreate this whole flexible budget over here, or we can go over here and we can use our contribution margin per unit to figure that out for us. And so if the original budget was 15 and we think we can do 18, that means we're going to sell 3,000 more units. And if we just multiply that times our contribution margin, that will tell us how much extra profit we'll have. And so the idea with that is that if we have 99 cost of $99 per unit, that means that $101 out of this 200 is going to go towards fixed cost. Once fixed cost has already been taken care of, that contribution margin is going to go straight to profit. So if all we have to do is, if we know the contribution margin, multiply that times the increase in units, that'll give us our increase in profit from the scenario up here. So if they do 18,000 units, they're going to have sales of this 159 plus the 303 for their total profit. So what's that? 462. All right, and then the last part, it says, an unfavorable change in the business is remotely possible. In the case that the production and sales volume drops to 12,000 units, how much profit or loss would we have? So if we want to look at that, we're going to say, hey, what if we only do 12,000 units? If we multiply that times our contribution margin of 101, that will give us a total contribution margin of 1.212. And then if we subtract out our fixed cost, which we calculated that here at 1.3, that means if we sell 12,000 units, we'll actually have a loss of 144,000. So now at this point we know our break even is more than 12,000, so we have to sell more than 12,000 units. And just for fun, I know these videos are not required for you guys to do. They're just meant to be a help, to help work through the homework. However, I think you guys should get some bonus if you guys are sitting through these videos, listening to me talk for 20-30 minutes each time. So if anybody is listening to this, if you guys send me an email that says Happy Easter, I will give you extra credit of an additional 3% on your overall grade. So anyway, I hope these videos are helpful, and I look forward to giving you some extra credit.